Okay, let's call to order the Fire District Board meeting of June 19th. Could you join me with the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please call the roll, please.
Yeah. Aldrich.
Here.
Bach.
Here.
Verplank.
Here.
Phelps. Here. Pullen.
Here. Here.
Beckman with that notice.
Please turn off your phone, and don't text during the meeting because it's against the open meetings act. Could we have approval of the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda that stands.
Second.
Is there any discussion? Dan?
I thought you were looking
Oh,
for a second.
I'm sorry. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have approval of the minutes of the April 28th special meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the April 28th, 2023 special meeting.
Second. A motion by Pullen, a second by North, to approve the April 28th minutes. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries. We have a motion to approve the May 15th meeting minutes.
It's your turn.
I move to approve the May 15th, 2023 meeting minutes as presented.
Second.
Motion by Aldrich, second by Fox. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? And could I have a motion to approve the May 15th special meeting?
I'll make the motion.
to approve the May 15th, 2023 special meeting.
I'll second. A motion by Pullen, a second by Fox. To approve the minutes of the May 15th special meeting, is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, moving on. We have a public hearing tonight on the budget. Could I have a motion to open the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing on the budget.
I'll second it.
I have a motion by Phelps and second by Pullen to open the public hearing. Discussion? Hearing none, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Yes, ma'am. Phelps.
Yes.
Pullen.
Yes.
Aldrich.
Yes.
Fox.
Yes.
Verplank.
Yes.
And North.
Yes.
That's
Okay.
6-0.
Thank you. Well, the May 15th meeting, the May 15th special meeting to discuss the budget was very successful. The attendance was great by most communities. I think we got all the questions answered. I felt it was a very worthwhile meeting. The budget has been accepted by all three jurisdictions, and as far as I know, all the questions were answered. So, are there any supporting comments or letters from the audience? Eric?
I don't think I have any comments to the budget.
Okay, was there any letters, Chris? Is there any opposing comments? Any opposing letters? Any general comments? Last call for comments. Okay, I'm going to close that part of the public hearing. And is there any discussion about the budget from the board?
I think we established, or y'all established a new template. I think that should be how it's done every year as a matter of course, and where it's done, actually.
I totally agree. I thought it was very successful and people were very supportive, so.
And I think it helps, I mean, as the lack of public attendance at these meetings is what it is, but I think that meeting helps get some of that get out. I mean, you know, people talk to people and so forth, so it's better than.
Well, they're gonna be the ones that have to carry the message, you know, as we go forward, so, and everybody seems on board, so I think that's helpful.
Yes.
Yes, I think it's very helpful.
My board hopes that there'll be more of this type of thing where we all get together and, you know, when there's a community thing like this, so we really thought it was great.
Thank you. Okay, so with that, I will close the public hearing. The commission will act on the budget later on in the meeting. So could I have a motion to close the public hearing?
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
I have a motion by Phelps, second by Fox. Any discussion, any further discussion? Hearing none, we have a roll call vote, please.
Yes, ma'am. Phelps,
Yes.
Fox,
Yes.
Aldrich,
Yes.
McLean,
Yes.
Fuller,
Yes.
and Norton.
Yes.
That's 6-0.
Okay, we're on to public comment on agenda items only. Please limit your comments to 3 minutes. No comments back here, all right. Moving on, where am I? We have requests for payments. Pete, do you want to do the budget amendment
Yes,
first?
yeah.
Okay.
So on page 7 of your packet, this is the second budget adjustment, the last one for fiscal year 2023. We had a little bit more in inspection and plan review fees, and then we had increased the career firefighter wages by a little bit.
Federal purchase on replacement on Federal 33, 249658, create 249658, create 379-year-old male.
And then we had a lot of calls, fire calls on for the month of May, so we had to increase the fire wages there. Then the ones without the parentheses are increases in expense. The ones with the parentheses are basically where we took money from different line items that we had excess dollar amount. So basically, it's still a balance. There's still a balanced budget there. You can see way at the bottom, the last number says 00. So the expenses, we just kind of moved where we needed them. We took where we needed from them. So overall, then, I think, we've collected everything we have in revenue so far, and then the expense side, overall the budget, we're into the fund balance by, right now, $172,000. We still have one more month of June paid on call guys, and there's one more payroll for this fiscal year, then there's basically all the expenses, so originally, we were gonna get into the fund balance by $400,000. I would say we're probably gonna get into the fund balance a little bit, probably $210, $215. Depends what the calls are for the month of June. We don't have a lot of control over that, but we're in a lot better shape than we are today than we were a year ago. Because at one point we thought we were gonna get into the fund balance by $400,000, and we won't be nowhere near that.
Good.
All
I don't know
right.
if anybody got any questions on the budget adjustment, or?
Well, let me get a motion. Or no, we're not gonna do it yet.
Yeah, we will do the budget adjustment, then we can adjustment.
All right. Okay, so, any questions about the budget adjustment? Do I have a motion to approve budget adjustment number 2?
I'll make a motion to approve budget adjustment number 2.
I'll second it.
Right there, page 7.
Oh, usually it's.
Okay, is there any discussion? Could we please have a roll call vote?
That was Norton, seconded, right?
Yes.
Oh, no.
Or was it Fuller?
Fuller.
Okay, I'm sorry, I couldn't quite hear which direction I came. Thank you. Making sure I had it right. Okay. Phelps?
Yes.
Fullen?
Yes.
Aldrich?
Yes.
Fox?
Yes.
Verplank?
Yes.
And North?
Yes.
Passes with zero.
Okay, thank you. Kate, you could do the accounts payable. Do we have a motion to approve the accounts payable?
I make a motion to approve the accounts payable of $138,764.76.
Second.
We have a motion by Phelps and a second by Fox. You can't ever leave this board. Scott.
What's that?
You can never leave this board. Who would make this motion?
Well, they did fine when I was on my trip.
We stumbled.
It was hard.
It was noted.
It
Your
was
father's
noted.
amendments.
Who's gonna do it?
I think I had to do it, it was not easy.
Okay, is there any discussion other than that? Okay, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Phelps?
Yes.
Fox?
Yes.
Aldrich?
Yes.
Verplank?
Yes.
Colon?
Yes.
And North?
Yes, motion carries unanimously. Okay, moving on to the financial report.
Okay, so page, I kind of briefly went over page 13 of the packet. You know, we've collected all the revenue. It only says 81% of the percent of the budget used, but we didn't put any else. So we've collected all the revenues that from the two cities in the township. There might be a little bit more coming in cost recovery, but they've only got a few more days to get it in. And then you can see the expenses over here on the right column. You know, I think we're in good shape. We still got 10 more days in this fiscal year. We've got one more month payroll for June, and then we have one more payroll for the career firefighters here. And then I think we're fairly well, we're in decent shape. We still got that 23,000 at the bottom. We still have turnout gear that's in order for a while, and hopefully it's going to be here in the next week or so. So I don't know, does anybody have any line item questions or?
Any questions? No questions? Okay, let's move on to fire chief's comment.
Thank you. Notable on your dashboard, we're up about 3.4% in calls. And I think would be interesting to point out, if you went to page 11, which would show, beg your pardon, page 13. So I think what's notable about this is the volume of fires. We did 4 fires in 5 days. Structure fires, we just did another one a week ago Monday, and it certainly is not the norm. One was right in our own district, which was almost impossible to get to. So I wanted to point out that the amount of structure fires that we had was very severe. So other than that, everything is pretty much typical of what we present to you each month. Next up would be community risk reduction department. So we have a monthly report I can share with you. Pretty much that's on page, well, it's punched out.
Punched out, yeah. See graph.
15.
So I think what's notable is plan review hours certainly leads the column, that green column. The volume of plan reviews is staggering. A good one to see is the 32 hours for fire prevention. So the column to the right up there. And I believe I shared with you some of the photos for the crew, what took place at the elementary school with the aerial spray water. Apparently that's going to become an annual event. We will be buying a few wash machines for parents, but everybody was really
Just give them the soap, give them the soap while you're spraying them.
Pardon me?
Give them the soap while you're spraying them.
Well, they were rolling around in the mud. It was an absolute blast, orchestrated by Chris and well attended with a number of volunteers that showed up. But a big hit, and certainly something that's worthwhile mentioning.
A nice thank you, too. Thank you, Noel.
It's really extraordinary. Moving on, we have State of Michigan which were a decrease in fire deaths, which is always something we like to see. 9 deaths and 56 fires, 4% decrease. We know pretty much the matrix, time of the day when they occur, we know it's usually male, and we know we usually find these people in the living room. So, nothing has been altered with that. Next up, grants. We have a grants award from our insurance carrier, which is always great to hear. We are in need of replacing our dash cams, so it's a 50% match. Technology changes, the chips have a very limited retention because of the volume of spectrum that they consume. So, good job, Chris, on the grant. Next, I felt it was really important to share with you recent illegal burns that were not in our jurisdiction. This is always a very sensitive thing to do. One of the illegal burns was almost $8,000 in fees. Long day for some of us, and you'll see in your financial reports, you'll see over $3,000 for fire suppressant foam. One of these fires consumed $1,500 worth of foam. We're almost empty with foam, so we had to order 2 barrels, thus $3,000. I am trying to recapture that money via the mutual aid agreement with the county. So we went to the township of Ganges, and this was an out-of-control fire, and you can see it up there, mostly tires. And the fire suppressant foam was vital to try to stop this. I mean, I was on that 7 hours.
Were the tires illegal dump?
So they had a burn permit that was obtained illegally. It was never approved. And they were burning in a yard, a collection point. And the fire got away from them. You can see an oxyacetylene and a torch. We don't know what he was doing other than cutting. The fire extended and it grew. Very hard to contain. It was very warm. And there's no water supply. So it fit all the criteria of an illegal burn. Thus, we are seeking recovery. I just got a reply from Ganges that the board approved it being sent to the home landowner.
Was this in Ganges?
Yes.
Is that the one on 89th?
Yes, it was originally called in as a structure fire in our jurisdiction.
Is that the same day that you had the fire on the dune?
Yep,
One day.
correct.
Is the foam used just because you didn't have water, or because it was tires and chemicals and things, or?
Yes.
Yes, to both?
The
Okay.
foam
I mean, there's a
takes the
reason for
water
foam.
and stretches the effectiveness of the water. And we, as it was, we couldn't even keep up with the water supply here. So, you know, the moral is if you're gonna burn, don't burn where there's a lot of exposures, and burn when you have a viable water supply.
Oh, yeah.
And there's nothing there. You can see, what you cannot burn is what's in these photos. You can burn trees, limbs, and brush. We had stuff of
There's
all
junk.
walks of life there.
Yeah.
And it actually got reported at the request of the chief. I handled it, and reported it to the EPA.
How much did you say you spent in foam suppression?
$1,500 in foam. The total cost of the incident was $7,830.
How many departments?
Did we pay for that?
That was our
Oh, yeah.
cost, or that was our department cost?
We paid all our people, yes. That's just our share.
Okay, I got it.
Right.
Okay.
That's Dave Haverdink operating an excavator,
Yeah.
trying to break it up. And he broke part of it, so the property owner was not happy with him. They're working that out internally. But that was such a severe fire that I was on the phone with the EPA till 3 o'clock in the morning. Fire. Next one that we had was an illegal burn. A contractor, Ganges Township, no permit, not attended, caught a barn on fire, took the barn down. No water supply, very limited access. That was $2,000 $612, and we are seeking cost recovery. Kind of a pit that we could fall in. I stumbled on that when I was going to another secondary fire a couple hundred feet away. Unmarked.
What's that, a well, or?
Yep.
was wondering if it was to repair equipment.
A little pump on. That is what I have on chief comments.
Okay, here's a grant and cost recovery, okay. Unfinished business, EMS ad hoc committee update. That committee met with Life Ambulance Service, got a pitch from them, didn't sound like a real great option for us. They wanted us to pay $750,000, correct?
$750 for an ALS crew?
For a year. We get to pay that every year so that we can house an ambulance here and their crew. And then they would work out of our station, which just sounds...
And may I,
Yeah,
Jim?
sure.
Also, you would be paying EMTs on another evaluation, you would be paying EMTs around the clock. House the ambulance, house the personnel, and that was $350 for
Yeah.
that evaluation.
So, didn't sound like a good idea any way around. But that's, no, that's...
Yeah, we don't even have separate rooms, but they demand that, and we're paying them. The
Yeah.
irony is uncanny.
Yeah, I'd say
That's AMR, that's nationwide. So, we're trying to set up a meeting with Life Ambulance Service right now to see what their proposals are and what they want to do. And, I'm not sure where this is going to go at this point.
Have we considered presenting to them what we find worthwhile?
We
Responsive?
kind of talked about that a little bit, but we're still interested in what Life has to say.
AMR.
Oh, AMR, I'm sorry. And I think AMR will probably be more expensive. And as we look into this, it just gets worse and worse and worse. I'm not exactly
No good
sure.
solution.
No, and some point, I mean, we are at at the border of Life and AMR, which can be a good thing or it's not a good thing. There's a lot of pros and cons to that.
Well, but who set the border? Who set, I go back to
AMR
the...
and Life.
Yeah, but they're not authorized. I mean, who authorizes, who franchises their service? Who's signing for it? Not the cities, not the township, nobody.
Nobody.
So it's completely beyond stupid. I mean, it's not even a system, it's just catch as catch can. And, oh, by the way, they get to leave whenever the hell they want to. I mean, back out, whoever, it was Life, wasn't it? Life saying, well, we're not gonna cover that area anymore. Really? And whoever that area is didn't authorize them to do it in the first place, so it doesn't have any say when they pull out. I mean, it's just screwed every which way you look at it.
So there has to be something in value to them, the money.
Well, at one point, I mean, I said this to the city council, the only jurisdictions that can authorize those ambulance companies are the cities and the township, directly. And I got the look of deer in the headlights from everybody on Saugatuck City Council. They all think it's our job. We can't do it without their authorization.
Yeah, they have to prove it.
And there's money, obviously, a lot of money involved here, so it's not good enough to say, okay, you guys do it, and then hand us the need to go to the taxpayers for $750,000 or more, and have us be the bad guys for doing that?
Well, it's gonna cost a lot more than that, because first of all, we have to build a place to put an ambulance, then we have to build a place for them to sleep, and then, I mean, it just goes on.
I'd like to see some amount of pressure on the 3 jurisdictions, honestly. To get involved somehow, some way, as it is, it's hear no evil, see no evil, we got nothing to do with it. And that's wrong, it's plainly wrong. They're the only ones who can do it. That's how
I think
that's how the fire district got created. They got
kind of an
together.
education thing at this point, though, because I'm pretty sure that, like, our council isn't even aware that's something that we need to be.
Right.
No, nor was Saugatuck, but it's also something that they're afraid of, because that opens you up to liability and all sorts of other issues, as well as expense. So it's not an issue that they're looking to want to get involved in.
Well, it's also confusing, because it's set up on handshake deals and
Years
traditions,
ago.
things that have been going on for years and years that worked. So why make it expensive, because it was all working? Now it's not working, so now it's gonna get expensive, so.
Jane, is it okay if I share the business model you and I were looking into?
Right, yeah.
It's very preliminary, so I'll keep this brief. I was in doing some interviews down in Otsego, and I was working with the chief, the director of Plainwell Fire, Public Safety Department. And we were talking about the issues with ALS, Advanced Life Support. He said, well, why don't you reach out to Life Care, who's another ambulance provider, is distinguished from Life. They have a program, and it's south of us, called Safety Net. And they have a company that runs a nonprofit called Emergent Healthcare. Here's the interesting part of this business model. Go back to COVID, when you could not staff paramedic on ambulances. Safety Net approaches Prairieville Fire Department near Plainwell. Says, hey, we got 2 ambulances sitting here. We can't staff them. You're an MFR agency, that's a level, right? Medical first responder. We'll give you those 2 trucks, we'll take care of them. You house them. You staff them. BLS units. Prairieville Fire goes, so what is it going to cost? It's not going to cost you anything. We'll maintain the trucks. Started in Sturgis. There's 2 Sturgis, and I've been working on this, getting as much information as I could to bring to the ad hoc committee whenever we meet. I talked to the captain of operations at Prairieville. I talked to the operations manager at Safety Net. They aren't here in this area. So they provide an ambulance, Prairieville Fire, and another one, I forget the name. They do it. They run an EMT and an MFR, and if ALS is not there in time, they're gone. They can do an intercept, which means meet on the way, or just go right to the hospital, return. So the truck's going out every call. When the truck gets serviced, they come and pick it up. That's a business model that might attract our residents and this fire board. Because you achieve BLS, you don't have some of the issues. 2 problems. We have 2 ambulance providers here. So how do we take a life care vehicle to AMR, and how do we distinguish that? So, also, what?
Never mind.
How do you, in other words, you can't have 1 ambulance for AMR's territory and 1 ambulance for, it's 1 ambulance, 1 method. Safety Net is not up here. So the call was, well, what would it take to have you up here? So I can share that at the next meeting, and then the ad hoc committee can decide if they want to bring them in and talk to them. So I'm trying to do some research and find out, is this even possible? But to me, it represents a business model that has possibilities. So I asked Lori Phillips, as the point of contact at Safety Net, and I said, what would it take to get you guys up here, talk to your jurisdictions? So that's a pathway that could be considered.
Yeah, I think so.
So, but it's taken 4 weeks to get a hold of, okay, this guy has to put me in touch with this guy has to put me in touch with this guy, and try to gather this information. And this Life Care Safety Net program is in a number of counties to the south of that. They don't have a basis here. So why, it's too bad we couldn't have that. I can't believe they have that with Grascup, Hamilton, and say, for example, AMR could retreat to 32nd Street and North. And then you have a Life Care company here, as distinguished from Life, two different companies. That make sense so far?
Is there like a proprietary thing?
Well, it just was an agreement that was very well done at the time. Hey, why sign something if you can get it and not pay? So there's a lot of merit to that. With that comes baggage. Don't complain about the time, don't complain about the fees. You have no say in it. What you have now is, you got nothing. They could pull out tomorrow. I don't know that that's the prudent thing to do in these days, but that's not my decision. So, that's what's evolved, this business model, and I talked to a couple of neighboring chiefs, and I said, why not even look at this?
How does Safety Net make their money? Or how are they organized, you know?
Nonprofit is a whole different thing where they get money for the call. And, oh, I failed to tell you this.
Yeah, you forgot a big part.
Yeah, I failed. Well, you're supposed to be, you know, kicking me. So here's a beauty part of it.
Yeah, I wondered when you were going to get to that.
I can't remember all this crap. So here's a neat thing. So what's in it for Life Care? They bill, and they pay you back. We get paid back. And the fire department, Prairieville, said they not only get paid back, they get paid back enough to send 3 people in an ambulance.
So they bill the
Kathy, you call for an ambulance, you get billed,
From Lifeco.
and we get reimbursed our wages. It's a flat rate fee.
Do they get reimbursed from insurance companies or from the people's insurance or personal?
Life Care bills Kathy. How her and her insurance company handles it is up to Life Care. We get paid. I think it's $350. So, you know, I keep seeing these little
Yeah.
glimmers of, that's a business model, why can't we have it here? So, like you said, why don't we tell them what we want? So, I like to see Jane ask AMR, hey, we got an offer for you. Give us an ambulance, here's what you can do, you can still make that call, and if the right criteria, when you're not available, we're gonna take it. And you do your billing, here's our fee. They do the collections, they get paid, they don't get paid. There is no argument about you're digging into our bottom line. I would anticipate AMR would not be very receptive to that. Can you say, well, let's decide, our 3 communities, we're gonna go for Life Care, and we engage in a discussion. This is just my
So
my thoughts.
as we dig into this and find options, there's a point where the communities are going to have to join this
That may
commission's
be
group.
the perfect time for the next budget kind of meeting. We'll
Yeah,
line 'em up down
where
there.
the communities
You
need
tell
to
them
have
what to do.
representation on this committee and dive into what we're faced with. And it's not your fault, you don't know anything about this. I just stumbled across it. But we have to, at some point, we have to nail this down and get contracts and, because this is all slowly falling apart. What we have now is falling apart, so.
Precisely.
So what we need to do is get representation from all 3 communities and work with what you have and work with what you need and find something in the middle for everybody.
But in the process of doing that, it would seem to me that's the logical point, that one piece of it would be communities authorizing or choosing not to authorize whomever are the ambulance companies able to
Right.
operate. Because it sends a very clear message to them. That's why you say, what if AMR would get AMR to move to everything north of 30 seconds? You can make that happen. You know, if they're not authorized to operate inside of these 3 jurisdictions, then they can't come in here. So it starts to potentially bring up something that might want to cause them to think about how they can play into this versus something versus nothing.
This was a 4-month pilot program that's in its 15th month. You will never be able to control and afford to control an ambulance company. Never gonna happen.
Didn't they also offer to re-letter or repaint the truck too, to match the fire department at their cost? I thought you mentioned as well, that Prairieville hadn't taken them up on that offer, but they did offer that they would re-letter it to be like a joint, Life Care / Prairieville Fire logoed ambulance or something like that.
It was a proposal that was very generous.
Yeah.
I saw a life ambulance up north just this past week, you know, they have those squares on them, and it was Oceana County.
So Prairieville is a very, very, very small community.
They do, good point, they do 250 calls a
Yeah.
year, but that captain was full of information, and the like-kind neighboring fire department was about 250 calls a year too.
Right.
And I just see, you know, it's all right, so I need detail, what if the truck gets out of service if it needs an oil change? Oh, they bring another one.
How many calls are in, does anybody have a statistic, AMR/Light, how many calls, or people get thrown in and go to Allen Hospital from here, or?
Well, from us,
Yeah.
we have that all
Usually,
recorded, yeah.
okay.
I don't think they have very nice personnel. Last March, they took me to Howland Hospital. That woman was rude. I mean, just rude, very rude.
Yeah, the good ones and bad ones.
I was been debating whether I should call them or write a letter and make a complaint, but I didn't. I probably won't, but she was very rude.
Do we have an agreement now with AMR? Like, do they
No,
have?
you don't.
They got the best of all worlds. They really do. They're operating in a completely uncontrolled environment for something that you would think would be highly regulated, highly controlled. It's crazy.
I think one of the things that Jane and I had trouble with talking with Life last time was for the privilege of them making money, we paid pretty dearly. And there was no equity in this. They want all the calls. They don't like us to take a call. Where if you have a business model like this, they aren't losing anything. But I think what we'd have to do is say, okay, we want to bring safety net up here, Life Care. Is that possible? I don't know.
Partnership instead of a.
Could they do Gresta, Hamilton, Ganges, you know? That's the thing, us, township, we're paying for an ambulance in Fenville. Well, it's not there.
Yeah, they'll keep one store over there.
No more than the sheriff is here.
I mean, it's like trying to build a house out of sand. It just, every place you go, it just kind of, and I'm finding myself, there's just nothing really to grasp onto. I mean, these ambulance services just want to make money, and big money. And for $750,000, you have the honor and privilege of taking care of our crew, our ambulance, and we'll bill. I mean, it's just, and we'll leave the area if we want to. So that's really difficult. We have no guarantees.
That's why I think lighting a fire, and I think
Don't light a
once
fire.
once the EMS committee processes this and is ready to make a recommendation and a presentation, and you gather the three jurisdictions to hear that presentation, and among other things, in that presentation, to educate them on what's going on and what isn't going on, and who's responsible for this, and who's not responsible for anything, who's cashing checks like crazy, who's writing checks like crazy. I mean, because they're gonna have to get invested and, quite honestly, incensed enough to say, we gotta, as a group, we gotta take control of this. We gotta get this, we owe our constituents to get this under some semblance of control.
Again, I think it's an awareness thing, because I don't think people.
No, that's why I say, when
I
Sockstock
mean-
looked at me like, but
I think we would have a much better chance, is if we had one ambulance company here and say, hey, here's a business model. Doesn't mean you have to replicate it, but at least, come on, you don't have staffing, we can do this, let's partner up, this is the way we see that, and don't pay a fee for, so they can make money. And that's what I was looking at, talking to all these people, but it took a long time to get answers, and I've just touched the surface.
So is the ad hoc committee investigating this? And
Mm-hmm.
we're looking at things. The ad hoc committee right now consists of Greg and I and 5 doctors.
I was gonna say, you had talked about recalibrating membership in that group.
And the group has to change. Once we get the investigation work done, then the group is gonna have to change and evolve to include, we do have a good representation of the community. We have people from the township, from Douglas, and from Saugatuck. But we need to bring in legislatures at that point. So all I can say is right now, we're still in the investigation phase, and this is gonna take a while. Because the more we look, the worse it gets.
I think it'd be worth our while to have a lawyer become part of that continuing group, because a lot of this stuff is gonna be based on
That's why I
legal
was-
considerations.
Oh, yeah.
I wanted to get a copy of the agreement that Prairieville has, so we don't have to reinvent the wheel at
Yeah.
$300 an hour. And so, well, this agreement works, let's mirror this. Because I think what you're gonna find is this is part of the process, and maybe it won't work.
It may not.
Maybe you can't come to terms with life, and we're just stuck with it. What does that direct you to? Take a flow chart. We do it ourselves. If you decide we should.
Yeah.
So, to me, I was real excited. Called Jane, and she goes, yeah, okay, all right, Greg, okay. And I'm like, you know how long it took me to get to there? So we're, I appreciated her. Big deal, Greg, but I'm like, she was right.
Okay, call me at 8 o'clock in the morning, so.
I don't think it was even 8.
No, it wasn't.
Did you get a copy from Life of their contract yet?
No, this Lori Phillips, she was talking, she said, you know what, I can't, she didn't want to speak out of turn.
Mm-hmm.
So she was gonna call up, and this was Friday, I wasn't even working. So I talked to her, it's the only time I could get a hold of her. She says, I'll call you back, and she didn't. I have to talk to somebody over my head. So what will it take to get you here? Well, I've got 3 municipalities, but they're very small. I already talked to Hamilton Fire.
Are they on board? Would they be on board?
He is, but he's got Fillmore, he's got all these
Yeah.
municipalities. More people you get involved.
Yeah, could we just stay here for a while?
It's like having 5 committees.
Yes.
I think you could get it started here.
Yeah.
They'll
And then
join
we'll
in if
build
it
on
makes
it,
sense.
but
Oh, I think Jane and I made great strides in this business model that is possible, right?
Maybe, I don't know. I wanna see a contract from Prairieville. Prairieville's so small, it's really hard for me to wrap my head around. I used to have a friend from Perryville. I think it has 2 stores in it. and-
Yeah, it's not real big.
No, it's
I-
a real
yeah, it
small
can't be.
little, it's over
I
by
can't even
Battle
spell
Creek.
Prairie, I always spell
Prairie?
Prairieville.
Well, there could be some guys could work on is getting the contract, and that might help push
Yeah,
us
well,
forward.
I'll get the contract, believe me.
Of their decisions.
So, yeah, so it's just complicated. It's so
Oh, yes, it sounds
complicated,
like it.
so much more complicated than I thought it was ever gonna be.
It's a process of elimination. Well, that won't work. We know we don't want to do that. We've gone a long way. We know we don't want to pay that kind of money.
And
No.
we did talk, and you just mentioned about doing our very own.
Yeah, we talked about that.
It's a possibility
Possibility.
if the public wants us to, but
The meeting with Life was very interesting, and there was one gentleman at the table going, "You want us to pay what?" So you can, huh? Am I understanding this correctly? And he was. So, yeah, it's difficult.
But you thought you had a good meeting with Life. I mean, the...
We
the good
know where
Life,
they
not the bad
stand.
Life.
yeah, we learned their position, and we learned that
We do want to be
they
a
would
part of
prefer
it.
to take every run.
Okay,
And I said, how, you know, and
Of course they would.
can I say this? I guess-
Can
So,
you talk
I
about-
said, how can we be taking money from you when you aren't even there? You aren't there.
Yeah.
You're talking about Prairieville Life, or?
No.
No, I'm talking about the Prairieville Life.
Oh, no, I'm sorry, I was talking about Life Ambulance.
Okay.
When they,
what's
when
that
we
one
met
called
with them.
then? The Prairieville one, what's that
Life
called?
call.
Life Co?
Life Care.
Care.
Life Care. Okay, that's the one we need to get a copy of the contract from or something, don't we? We need to see what they
Right.
do?
She had to talk to her boss,
Okay,
but I
that
could,
was the Life Care
I
one.
could probably go around that and go to
Okay.
Perryville Fire Department and get a copy.
It's gotta be
Okay.
public record. What do you think?
Who's the safety net one?
FOIA.
If they have a record in Prairie.
But the advantage of Life Care is it's a nonprofit
It's a
organization.
big advantage.
When I researched it online, that's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the
because-
same as safety net?
What?
Is that the same as safety net?
Life Care?
Yes, Life Care has Safety Net that oversees a number of ambulance companies, because they had issues down there. They threw out ambulance companies, so they got together and they hired Emergency Care to oversee all this. That was on the website.
Too many names.
Yeah.
All right, get the
So-
contract.
So we're working on it, that's all.
We're got, yeah, I know that. And
Process.
go from there.
It's a process, all right.
Yes. Sounds
Okay,
good.
moving on.
Well, thank you. and
Thank you.
Michigan
your-
Public Safety Drone Association update.
Jane, it's like, I think each of the jurisdictions need to get some level of briefing from us, to let them know that we're looking at this on their behalf, I mean, on all our shared constituents' behalf, but that at some point, there's gonna be a coming together with some
Right.
sort of a recommended plan. But I think they need to be
They need to.
slowly brought into the notion
Right.
that they got cards to play in this game.
Big cards.
It's a pretty thorough process. I think we're doing our due diligence, and, you know, you identify a problem, and then you offer viable solutions. And I think we're not there yet, but it looks better now than it did before, and we haven't even met with AMR yet.
Yeah, and let us come up with some viable solutions before you tackle the problem,
Yeah.
because too many cooks are gonna really spoil this broth.
Well, at this stage, they're not gonna wanna step in and do anything. I mean, this
No.
is a thorny, difficult issue, and no city council or township board's gonna be looking to work on it right now. And they'll be happy to know that somebody is working on it and is gonna come to them with something. So I don't think there's at least
Shouldn't they-
now, there's not a too many cooks issue. They don't wanna cook anything.
Shouldn't the councils know that we're doing something, working on it?
That's what I'm saying, letting them know
Yeah.
is
Don't you know we're
important,
doing
but,
something on it?
but
Okay.
they don't need to do anything at
No,
this juncture.
no, correct, yeah, I agree, I understand that, yeah. As long as they know we're working on it, so
They
when
know,
we do
don't they?
come
Mine
in, it won't
does.
be a brand new surprise.
Well, I mean, just
I'll tell them
mentioning,
again. I don't know if ours does.
just mentioning to them
Rich might. I
that
don't
it's,
know.
that ambulance service in Douglas is Douglas's city responsibility.
Right.
You know, they need to know that. And in
Yeah.
the township, it's the township
big
board's
one.
responsibility, it's not the fire district. So we're trying to solve this and present a reasonable solution or solutions to them so that we can make it happen. And basically, at some point, alleviate them of that potentially, of that responsibility.
Mhm.
But that has to be done by intergovernmental agreement, same way the whole fire district was created.
Mhm.
I think the whole goal is enhance the level of service without costs, or is minimized.
And I hope whoever puts it together did better than the last guy that put together this fire department, so.
But the lack of transparency, like you say, lack of transparency on who's paying what, and because it only happens one instance at a time, there's never the groundswell from the public that says, what the hell is going on with these ambulance rates? Because there's only, so many, one at a time, two at a time, whatever. They probably, if they're gonna complain, they're gonna probably complain to us. Or, so it's gonna get lost. I mean, it's just not gonna, there's no pressure, there's no public pressure on the system, and there needs to be. Really.
I'd say they're like garbage companies around here, they charge wherever they want,
You bet.
what are you gonna do about it?
Exactly,
Yeah.
It's it parallels.
Yeah.
But at least the garbage companies have to go to the cities or the jurisdictions to get approval to operate. These guys don't even have to do that.
They don't in the township.
No.
Oh, okay. I guess must be-
Sorry, yeah, that's okay. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's get back to the meeting. The Drone Association update.
So in your packet on page 18, you have a flyer about the next meeting is July 12th, and we are hosting it. We are the Southwest Region, as in your packet. They have requested a water drone evolution, so they're going to send me some once, and then we will make that happen with our drone team, Graskup and Hamilton, that are all part of our drone team.
What does that mean, a water, what was that?
That means they want something where the drone involves going over the water. We just don't want them to land the drone on the boat, because the boat shifts and we lost the drone that way. We didn't. We had a great photographer who lost one that way, so we're not allowing that. But there's going to be some continuity between operations on the Marine Division and a rescue with drone as an forensic command that's on shore.
Would that include demonstrating how that drone can drop a life jacket?
No, because we don't own the third-party built arm. We've got to fund that.
Is it big enough?
It's got the payload capability, but we need the articulated arm. It's several $1,000s.
Okay, moving on, we have to vote on the fire district budget approval for fiscal year 23-24. Could I have a motion to approve?
I'll make a motion to approve the fire district budget for fiscal year 2023-2024.
I'll second that.
Okay, I have a motion by Cullen and a second by Phelps to approve the fire district budget for 23-24. Is there any more discussion? Good, because I don't want to talk about it. All right. Could we have a roll call vote?
Yes. Bullen?
Yes.
Phelps?
Yes.
Aldrich?
Yes.
Cox?
Yes.
Verplank?
Yes.
And Norton?
Yes.
That's the thing there. Thank you.
MMRMA General Insurance Renewal Review.
Have some good news for you. Our insurance carrier, Michigan Municipal Risk Management Authority, our general liability, all of our insurance with the exception of workers' compensation. So we're around 40,000. It's going to stay 40,000. Usually it's a 7 to 11% increase every year. The reason it's staying is because we have many trucks that are 15 years and the value has been slashed. So that's the bad part.
That's not exactly the good news.
So what we would used to pay $300,000 or $400,000, which was staggering to Scott and I buying an engine, you'll be in the $800,000 now. So they will not insure it to replace it at the 15-year mark, and we've got several. However,
They'll give us a value at that stage, though, right?
they assured me I said, you know, we're changing tires, they're all maintained, all the records, we try to maintain them impeccably. And he said, all that will be taken into consideration, and they've always taken care of us on claims. So I
We've
have to
never had a
just-
total loss.
I trust, right. You know, we just read about an aerial, they just bought this aerial used, had one tire out of 6, no, that's not right, one tire out of 8 blow, and they rolled it.
Ooh.
And 2 people ejected, 2 firefighters ejected. So you never know what's gonna happen. We had a tire bad on the front end of one of our trucks. Oh, we got 4,000 miles on that tire, and they caught it. So, you know, the insurance will stay, same premium level, just the coverage like anything else, you get less, which is the insurance industry. So that's good news.
You get less.
We have a thank you from the fire at the old lighthouse.
Yeah, I thought this was really neat that you should hear. That was that fire before this other one at Oval Beach, which is virtually impossible to, you can't really put it out. And the fire, they sent me a video, the fire of this house out there, the flames were right up to the deck. And we were lucky.
Ever figure out what caused that fire?
Is it
No,
grass
it takes
fire?
the
It
Grass
was a
fire?
cigarette, we assume it's a cigarette.
Yeah,
There's a lot of people are walking around there.
Piece of glass will do it too.
What?
Piece of glass
Yep,
magnifies it.
correct. It could.
And out there, did it get over into where all the peat is? Did it get into the peat?
No,
There's peat out there that we had one
Yep.
years ago. We had a heck of a time putting that out.
I think I've done 3 fires out there that are virtually impossible to put out. That was the anxiety level right there for that. But the family expressed appreciation to all of them, and it was a good stop.
Good. Is that still Dean's on that? They still on?
Christopher Dean sent this.
Yeah.
Christopher Dean, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
that's Dean.
Yeah. And you know what, people, houses can have a lot of sentimental value. This family has been in there 85 years, so I thought you'd want to know that.
Okay, and then the last thing on the agenda was the auditor's letter to the fire board. Probably, I haven't read it yet. Probably
Just a
so-
standard communication, but it was to the board, I wanted to send it to you. Just,
I perused it. I didn't see anything wrong. That's what I perused.
Well, it's their,
Just
their
figured out what
standard.
was wrong.
It's just their standard that they're gonna do it.
I don't
They
see
won't
where
be here until probably late
anything's
September
been
anyway,
wrong.
so it's just their standard
Yeah,
boilerplate letter sent out.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, moving on, public comment. We have 2 publics back there now.
Yeah,
They
boy.
still don't want to say.
Surprised
One
Kyle
and a
doesn't
half.
talk up.
Okay, so fire board comments, Stacy? I don't have anything today. Dan?
2 things. One, I wanted to let from Saugatuck, let them know that let the board know that our work of whatever it was 2 years ago on barriers and whatever is apparently finally rooted in the minds of the Saugatuck government, and they have, I think, was it $80,000? I could be wrong. I think it was $80,000 set aside in the budget to acquire the same sorts of barriers, I think. Douglas
That was
already
good.
has, or is
Well, we have the great big concrete.
They have the
Oh, they have the
concrete.
concrete, but
These
these are
the
like,
steel
these are
ones.
like the steel ones in Holland,
Right.
where the farmer's market is in
Mhm.
Holland, they've got them on both ends there, I think. So, only took 2 years, that's good.
pretty good.
Progress is
I think
progress.
they're hoping that they can share those with other municipalities or communities for their events as well.
That would be the best way, because they, you know, hopefully they can buy this lot and buy more. So,
And I also want to see, we talked about an update on the hires, the full-time hires, where we stand on that.
Oh, yeah.
Where we're at with that is, I want to get approval, and then I have a draft of the job description. But I'll start, you know, this is a tough time of the year. no excuses, but when I have fires and all this other stuff, I don't have time to do a lot of things, so it was another 6 days a week for me this week. So I have not done the posting yet.
Kathy?
I'm good.
Drew?
No, just keep up the good work.
Scott?
No, I'm good.
Okay.
Gene?
Kidding. Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
We're adjourned.